Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to give a little bit here for everybody to jump on. Hey, Doug, what are you referring to? Are you bluegills, walleyes? Curious what you're referencing. Be right back, guys. Just gonna go to the bathroom real quick. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Um, I know it's kind of been a crazy few weeks with weather, and looking like we're finally going to make the. Hey, that was quick, bud. Got to wash my hands and stuff too. Hey, I hope your surgery and everything went well, Bob, and you're back out in the boat fishing. Sorry, got to take my evening meds. Um, we'll fill you in on kind of what's happening here. All kinds of crazy stuff happening. But anyway, um, lots of questions, lots of people sending messages and well wishes and everything, and I appreciate that. Um, kind of, I guess we'll talk fishing here, kind of where everything's at. A couple weeks ago, though, white bass were going, bonkers in the river. They really never came up into the real extreme shallows to do any spawning. We had water temps get into the high 60s. I think I did see some surface temps one day around 70, and the cold and the rain and the wind and everything else came and dropped it back down into the high 50s. And it's kind of been sitting in the, that 62ish or so here the last few days. So a lot of the white bass that we caught the other day still have spawn in them. The males are still milking. I'm sure some spawned out, but I think there's a lot of fish that still haven't spawned yet, and be curious to see here once we get into some warm weather if we get some fish that move up into the shallows, or if these fish are going to absorb their eggs. It's really hard to say. Kind of a very weird year, and it's definitely not typical. A lot more fish stayed down in Oshkosh this year than what I've ever seen. But again, I think a lot of it has to do, water temperature wise, and just the fact that it's been so cold. Um, Water levels are, I'd say fairly normal for this time of the year. It's not like it's crazy low or anything like that. And there's plenty of flow, and the conditions are right for some good fishing yet. So if you're looking to get out and still get after some white bass, there's still plenty of opportunities. A lot of fish right out in front of Chico's area, or if you know where any of the clam beds are, you've got some in front of Chico's. Um, yeah, Ray says coldest May since '97. The year I graduated. Go figure that one. Um, so it's kind of a crazy deal. But they're they're out a little bit deeper and kind of like that 9 to 12 feet of water. And when you find a pot of them, there's a lot to be caught. And then still a lot of fish up in the docks, kind of around Fort Fremont, across from the Gala, and then down south, even further yet, from the condos there in Fremont, the Wolf River condos. All those docks along that area are holding a lot of fish, males, females, both. You'd hook a female and there'd be 10 males right behind it, and the female would still have eggs and the males would still have milk in them. So I don't think it's over yet, guys. I think it's just late. I think with the water temperatures being as cool as what it was, and this cold weather has really kind of prolonged everything. It didn't all happen right at once. I know a lot of fish went really far up north this year as well, and they're just kind of everywhere. So there's really no magic spot, so to say, like in years past. They really are just spread out throughout the entire system. But like I said, when you get on a school of them, you can you can make hay pretty quick. I will say it hasn't been a very typical bite. We are getting it seems like you'll get a half a dozen fish on a spinner, and then it'll go dead, and then I'll throw a micro finesse plastic or some crappie style baits up at them, and you'll whack a few, and then it'll go dead. And then we'll throw some flies at them, and then it'll go dead. And then we'll throw some hair jigs at them. And you just got to keep cycling through the baits. There is a ton of food in the river, and I think that might play a lot into what happened this year. I don't know if I've ever seen this many minnows, from early spring all the way up until now, even in the river. There'll be times where we'll make a cast up into, you know, the shorelines or to the banks to, hit those drop offs, and uh, the bait or whatever will hit the water, and the water just explodes with shiners. And that's, it doesn't matter where you go. If you're behind a dock and a little bit of a current break, there's a lot of shiners in that river. And I think those fish are just gorging. The ones I've cleaned, have had quite a few shiners in their stomachs. Um, and definitely plenty of food for them. So not a typical year. I can't say that the numbers. Everybody says, "Oh, the numbers are down." I'm like, nah, I don't think so, because when you watching them on live scope and watching them on side imaging, seeing just the masses, the clouds of fish when you find them, it's crazy. We got onto some spots a week or so ago during that crappy weather that there'd be honestly 1,000 fish behind every single dock, and just a massive cloud of fish. And we were snagging them more than we were catching them. Just reeling in or snapping flies in some spots. It was pretty crazy. So um, then I guess the other thing too is the fact that there's still a whole bunch of walleyes coming down out of the river yet, and that bite, if you find these straightaways or some of these clam beds, I know down by the mouth on Poigan has been pretty hot, just dragging crawlers or pulling flies either up or down river has been working really well, and then just throwing some hair jigs on some of the current breaks. Real early in the morning, or again just before dark, but the early morning bite has definitely been the ticket. So still, guys, lots of opportunities in the river. If you're looking to get away out of the wind, or if you got some bad forecast for wind, the Wolf has still got plenty of fish in it, and lots of opportunities. As we move down into Poigan, the trolling bite has been very good for walleyes. Guys are getting some crappies and some white bass and stuff mixed in there. Clark's Bay's got a lot of fish out in the Horseshoe, the West End. They're really just kind of, I think, still all those fish just dumping out. Not nothing big, nothing huge. A lot of 16 to 18s. We are getting some bigger fish, in the low 20s, dragging crawlers yet in the river. Actually, every once in a while, you'll pick up like a 24, 25 inch or two. So, a lot of fish in the river coming down. A lot of fish out in the lakes. So, if you're not a jigger and you want to go do some boards, definitely try and hit up Poigan. Now, that being said, comparing that to Winnebago, the problem with Winnebago right now is that the water is super clear again, and it's very hard to get fish to bite when that water's that clear. And guys are getting some fish up on the reefs. Again, low light conditions, cloudy days. After a windstorm, and you got a little bit of stirred up water. And right before evening seems to be kind of the best. Slip bobbers with leeches, throwing some hair jigs, some Ned heads, Ned rigs, jigs with crawlers. Kind of your typical reef bite has been doing pretty well. There are a few fish starting to show up in the cane beds and in the weeds. Again though, everybody's hey, is it going, man? Those walleyes should be going, and I would agree. But again, the problem is that the water has been so cold that these fish, are they go up in those areas for a reason. It's typically to feed on different bait and stuff that go up there to do their spawning or to hatch or whatnot. And there's just not the bait. Typically you can see a lot of small minnows and stuff like that swimming around. On live scope when you're up on these cane beds, and just haven't seen a whole lot of that yet. There are some fish starting to show up. I mean, guys are starting to get a few. Still a lot of rough fish, a lot of catfish and gar swimming around the cane beds on Poigan. I haven't been over on Butymore to check those, and I know there's the water again is a lot dirtier, so it's prime conditions for the walleyes in the upper lakes. And then as you get out into Winnebago, it just gets super clear, and it's been real hard to get them, especially on sunny days or bright days has been kind of difficult. If you are going to do that, trolling, Seems like most of the guys that are catching more fish are getting them trolling those like 9 to 12 foot contour breaks on the west shore, and then over on the east shore. I know down by like Pipe and Calumetville, that kind of that stretch there with all the deeper rock structure. There's been quite a few fish over on that side as well. That's really what I know that's kind of happening on the system. You know, the weed bite. We get some warm days, we get some sunshine, and everything's going to really fire here. But we just needed to get warm and get rid of these northeast winds and all this cold. It has really slowed down fishing and definitely prolonged it. As far as panfish goes, that has kind of been slowing down. They're still getting a few in some of the channels. Some crappies and bluegills here and there. But again, when you get into some of these channels, you'll see you get into the back corners of some of these places, and there's just billions of minnows swimming around. So you're really competing against a lot of natural forage for these fish. So you really got to up your game and give these fish something that they want to see and want to eat. As far as kind of what's been going on, I really haven't been able to fish much. My back is past the point of no return. I've been living on pain meds right now and doing everything I can just to get to Monday. Monday morning, I will be having surgery. I'll be out probably for a good couple weeks. I'll keep everybody posted. And let everybody know kind of how everything's going and what's happening. But probably going to be laying low and trying to recover best I can. And I'm sure the first week or so is going to, they tell me it's going to be hell, and everybody I've talked to kind of says the same thing. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm looking forward to. Let's see, what do we got there? Hey, Frankie, thanks. No problem, man. Glad I could help. Sean, too, just answering some of the questions, guys. Um, Sean, I haven't seen any shad, hardly any at all. I don't know, everybody said there were a bunch in the river last fall, but I surely didn't see it. Seeing a lot of shiners, a lot of lake shiners and some river shiners, but I have not seen anything for shad. I'd be curious to see what the DNR finds, in their trawling results and stuff like that too, on how many they're picking up, because it's really a dying thing out on the Bago system. Let's see. Doug was asking earlier about keeping the males. What's your thoughts when they're on their beds or during the spawn? And Doug, to answer your question, then if you're going to keep fish during the spawn, you're actually better off keeping the females. It doesn't sound right, but the males are the guardians, and if you got a one prime stud male that sits on a bed, or you've got a whole area of beds that these males sit and guard, they'll have multiple females come and lay their eggs on these beds, and they just come and go, and the males stay there. So if you've got one male to a bed and 15 females coming and dumping eggs on that one bed, if you get rid of the male, guess what? That nest is done. And if you take a female or two, if you feel the need to go out during the spawn, you take a couple females, you're probably not going to do as much damage as what you would if you were taking the males off the beds. And that's why these fish are so vulnerable this time of the year, is because these males are guarding the nests. And anything that gets close to them, whether it be your bait or something else, these bluegills attack, and they're gonna eat anything that moves or anything that swims to get it out of there. So best thing to do is do some catch and release, practice some catch and release during the spawn, or if you feel the need that you absolutely need to take some fish, you'd be better off taking some females. But again, that's my recommendation, guys. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to harp and harass you for catching fish. I mean, you buy a license and you're able to do it, and that's I'm okay with that. But to prolong and preserve the what we have, it's just always a good idea to promote good ethical ways of harvesting fish, and pulling the males off the beds is not very ethical. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna be the first to say, as a kid growing up, I'm very well guilty, and I think all of us are, at certain points of our life, that going out and whacking fish on their beds is, a lot of fun, and you want to put fish in the freezer, and it's easy to do. As I've grown up and kind of understand, the fisheries, and even more so now with the electronics, trying to preserve what we have, these electronics on these small lakes, and even on the big lakes, finding these beds now is super easy to do. And once you do that, it's like picking picking taking fish out of a barrel. I mean, really, they're easy and very vulnerable, and you can wipe out a lake pretty quickly. So just be smart, and be ethical, and you have fish for many years to come. Let's see. Yeah, Frank, I'm excited. Excited to get out there with you guys, and I'm glad I could help Brad eat a steak once in a while. That's a good thing, man. Kill some deer, or you know, eat some cow or chicken, or you don't have to eat fish all the time. But like I said, catch and release is always fun. I've even gotten to the point now where I don't even like to bother the fish when they're on the beds. It's a great time though to do some scouting. I will do that. You can go out on these lakes. I always try and pick one or two new lakes every single year to really go map it out, learn it, and see what type of fish are out there. And the easiest way to do that is this time of the year when these fish are on their beds. You can take an underwater camera, find some of those deeper beds where you're going to see your bigger fish, drop a camera down, kind of motor around, and just see what's swimming around. If I see some giants, boom, I'm going to learn this lake, and I'm going to come back, later on in the year, and really start to figure it out for ice fishing, and then keep that in the back of my mind for ice. But when they're on, when they're spawning, I'm really not going to go after and target them. Just a good time to go out and see what's out there, and get a good idea on what the lake has to provide. Let's see. We have, I'm crossing my fingers, and if anybody's looking or anybody's willing to help, we could always use the help. We are doing the second annual fishing camp at Huckleberry Acres in New London. That'll be on Father's Day weekend. I do believe there are some campsites available yet. It is going to be another free fishing event for anybody 15 years of age or younger. I believe we have a couple guns that we're going to raffle off. We're going to be doing a 50-50. And then the first 50 kids that show up to register, that'll begin at 8 o'clock in the morning at Huckleberry, and they will have breakfast items and stuff like that there all day long, with lunch and everything else. But the first 50 kids will get a rod and reel combo, and a nice tackle box filled with a bunch of goodies. I just actually ordered in a whole bunch of Z-Man, micro finesse, and some chatterbaits to put in every tackle box, on top of some basic terminal tackle, and some hooks and sinkers and bobbers, and everything there. So a great starter kit, and we're going to have a bunch of prizes, and make it just a good fun event, and let kids come out and fish in the pond at Huckleberry. There's a lot of nice panfish out there, some pike, some bass, and even some turtles. So you never know what you're going to catch. But it's a great time to get your kids out. Very controlled environment, very easy to fish from shore, and it is a catch and release tournament. We definitely try and provide as many people as what we possibly can to be measuring people around the pond, around the lake, and that way when people catch their fish, they can go right to the weigh station, get it measured, and then get it released as quickly as possible. So looking forward to that. Again, that'll be June 14th on Saturday, Father's Day weekend, at Huckleberry Acres. That's in New London. And again, it's free. Prizes and rod and reel combos, and some stuff, giving away a bunch of stuff. And then you'll also have, like I said, there'll be some gun raffles and some 50-50 chances for mom and dad to win some prizes too. And then at Huckleberry as well, later on that day, they've got all kinds of events planned. They're going to have some different bingos going on in the grill, food and drink specials, and let's see, I think they've got a 50-50 raffle, and they've also got a gun raffle that they're doing for a lot better guns than what we're giving away. Kind of cumulative deal there. And yeah, so put it on your calendar. I'm crossing my fingers that surgery goes good, and I'll be up and able in a couple of weeks at least go out there and walk around and be a part of the day. If I can't, I know the people there have offered to help, and like I say, we're always looking for some more volunteers. So if you have anybody, or or if you want to come out and help, get a hold of me, and we'll get you set up. So excited to be able to give back to the kids. That's always a fun thing. Let's see. Steve asked, are the largemouth on the beds yet? Some of the lakes, I think, are starting. In my pond in the backyard, I'm starting to see, a couple of largemouth fanning out some beds. The bluegills are just starting to fan out some beds, but they're still kind of hanging off that deep edge, where there's probably, that's I'd say 8 feet of water or so. They're just kind of cruising back and forth, and you can tell that they're getting close. They come up when it's really hot and sunny, and the water warms up in the shallow area. They come up and fan a little bit, and then they'll slide back out a little bit deeper. So, and that's kind of what's happening too, on a lot of the lakes around Waushara, Waupaca County. Is they're just getting started. I suspect here, in the next couple of weeks, with some consistent warm weather and some sunshine, we'll start to see more of the fish come up shallow. Let's see, going back with some questions. I did see some guys were starting to get some white bass too down in Fond du Lac, down in the river. That's always kind of a good indication on what's happening, kind of in the river. And everybody got to the Wolf, Mother's Day, and people caught a bunch of fish. It was tough for some, but again, guys, I don't think a lot of fish have really gone up to their spawning areas yet and done their thing. I think we're still going to see some of that here in the next week or two. So don't be scared away. Definitely get out there and try. You still can whoop up on some of the bass. Thing about now is, as you get into some of that more warmer weather, and later on in the season here, they start to yellow up a little bit, and the meat, just make sure you're putting them on ice right away, versus just letting them sit in a live well the later we get into the season. Let's see here. I think I got all the questions answered. So yeah, I'm not going to be real late. It bothers me quite a bit to kind of sit on these hard chairs. Leaning back and laying back on the recliner has definitely been a position of choice. And I hate taking the meds, and just can't wait to get all this over with. So, not to be the pity party or anything like that, but it's been long overdue, and just say a prayer for me, and hopefully everything goes good, and we'll be back up and at 'em, and back to 100% here, not having to deal with back pain. If you've never had back pain, there's nothing worse. Everything you do, revolves around your back and the lower part of your spine, and it has definitely been very tiring and very agonizing here the last few weeks. So just looking forward to getting it taken care of and getting back to being able to go out and do some yard work and um, play with the kids and hang out and do stuff with the wife and everything else. It's just been very cumbersome. Kind of feel embarrassed some days too, just by not even being able to walk. It's been pretty crazy. Bob's asking, yep. Hey, Doug, I get it, man. A guide versus a recreational fisherman. Like I told you, is I'm never going to be one to tell you you can't go out and catch fish. You buy a license, you're allowed to do it. It's just as stewards of the sport, we have to protect what we have. And I've seen it. I'm 46, and really been paying attention to a lot of these lakes and kind of how they've cycled over the years. And now with the new implementations of reduced bag limits on some of these lakes, finally starting to see some of these lakes come back. It's really opened my eyes on what harvesting can do on some of these smaller bodies of water. They can be fished out, and when you lose a good year class or 2 year classes of fish, these bluegills, they don't reproduce overnight. 10-inch bluegills takes 10 years roughly to get there in prime conditions. Those 8 inchers, which is typically what you see a lot of people catching, those are taking home anywhere, those 7.5, 8 inchers. Those fish are 7 to 8 years old. So when you just go out there and start wiping them out, it takes that long to reproduce to get that system back up. And okay, you're starting to run out of 7.5, 8 inchers, and all of a sudden now you're starting to keep 7 inchers, and then guys start keeping 6.5, 6 3/4. Now you're down to 6 inch fish, and that's all you got left in the lake. You're not going to get that reproduction like you would if you have a bunch of big males guarding those nests. So just keep that in mind. There's so many studies and so much literature out there. If you're ever interested, go on to Angling Buzz's website, or even like In Fisherman and Linder's Angling Edge. I know Mike Hayner's done some great articles. The guys with Linders have done some great articles on bluegill populations and what you should keep and what you shouldn't keep, to kind of help out a system. There's a lot of good reads out there, and do yourself a favor and just kind of read it. Not saying that you have to follow it, but it's great advice, and that's all we're doing. Is just trying to help preserve what's out there. Steve, so I've had two back surgeries. Once when I was 19, once when I was 30. And when I had my last surgery when I was 30, they told me that I'd be back. We'll see you back here before you're 50, because there's not going to be much of a disc left. The first couple times, they went in, removed some of the bone, opened up the nerve canal or whatever they call it, and then took out some of the disc that was bulging. And then they did it again when I was 30. And over the last, I guess, 15 years, bouncing around, just doing normal guy things, right? When you already got a weakened disc, it doesn't take much to kind of get rid of or push the rest of the disc out of that space. So my L5S1 now is, the disc is gone. There's nothing there. The easiest way to explain it, you have all the nerve endings and everything down in that area that control your bladder, your pelvic area, your sciatic nerve, so many important things, and those nerves are getting pinched, in every direction because they don't have that cushion. I don't have that that disc in there anymore to absorb and to help bend or anything. So what happens is, take your knuckles, and every time you bend or turn, or sit up or stand up, it feels like, your knuckles rubbing back and forth over the top of each other. That's what it feels like in my back every time I move. And when you're quiet enough, you can actually hear kind of the grinding, the bone on bone. It's pretty bad. So they're going to go in, and the goal is to actually put a brand new disc in. If for some reason they can't push the arteries and the stuff out of the way by my spine to get at it and clean everything up, then the doctor said they'd be forced to do a fusion. And the problem with fusions is, once you fuse that spot, then everything above it or below it is going to take the brunt of your weight and the abuse that your spine takes, and you're just going to start wearing out those joints. So a lot of people that get a fusion early in life end up having multiples throughout the rest of their life, and getting a lot of hardware because this spot gets locked and it can't move. So then this spot up here has to move twice as much and take the brunt of it. Well, then that spot wears out, and you go up to the next one. Pretty soon you've got a full set of rods and plates in your back, and you're stiff as a board. So I'm hoping that they can put a new disc in, and after that, I'll have as much flex and mobility and everything else as it'll be like a brand new back, with a little bit of pain on some recovery, but it'll be good to have everything. So I got a good doctor, got a good team of doctors, and they're gonna hopefully take good care of me. So that's all I can ask, and then we'll just get to the recovery. So then I'll be looking for you guys for reports and watching for fishing reports online. So keep me updated, send me pictures, anything like that will definitely help put a smile on my face. And being happy is happy healing, is what they say, I guess. Boy, other than that, I really don't have much. I say it's been pretty slow for me, and I'm just ready to I think I got a couple days here to fish before Monday, so I'm going to try and do my best and go out, and we're going to try and chase some walleyes tomorrow, and go from there. So, guys, I appreciate tuning in, and good luck this weekend. Hope everybody has a successful weekend and catches a bunch of fish, or at least gets out and enjoys the time on the water. And please, if you're willing and want to help out for that kids fishery, get a hold of me. Even if if your company's interested, or if you work with somebody, or have something too that you want to donate for some prizes for the kids, please get a hold of me. We're always looking for donations. And the Whitetails Unlimited Poisippi chapter is the title sponsor. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I got to thank them. Dave Chase and the guys over there have been wonderful to work with, and really appreciate what they do. And it's nice to be able to give back and help out, and they're funding pretty much everything there. So I know Critters is donating a bunch of crawlers. I think Chico's is giving us another basket, like they did last year, and I think some bait as well, and a couple other local areas or local shops in the area too are helping out. So appreciate everybody, and you guys enjoy the rest of the evening, and we'll talk to you next week after surgery. Cheers, everybody. Have a good night.